I got the business up to like 250K, and then I burnt it all to the ground, as every good entrepreneur does. I happened to have 3 investments in a row, which went bang, 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 and like many 100x'd. They can build viewers, but not followers. When somebody is fake on camera, you can tell when someone's fake.
This is the Content Capitalist Podcast. We talk to business owners who've used video to grow their businesses to $1 million a year or more. How they did it, what worked, what didn't. Welcome to the Content Capitalists with your host, Ken Okazaki.
Guys, welcome to another episode of the Content Capitalist Podcast, where I have conversations with business owners who are doing at least 7 figures, if not more, in their business and doing it off the back of creating content. James Cant, welcome to the show. This is part 2, and the reason it's part 2 is because the first time I completely messed up with the tech, and my audio, completely on my side, was completely effed up. But James has graciously agreed to come back. James, welcome. This guy is a stud, a legend from Australia. We met. How did we meet, James? Can you remind me?
I can't even remember how we met. I remember I did one of your courses back in the day. The one where you taught us about Hilda. And that was cool, dude. But I can't remember how I found you. Probably you were just making dope video. That would have been what it was.
Yeah. Actually, most people do find me just through Facebook. I just create content online. People find that. Oh, dude, something really interesting happened. For the first time in my life, and this probably happened to you 100 times. I was in San Diego about a week ago, walking down the street, and someone stops me and says, "I know you." I'm just like, "No, you don't. I'm visiting from Japan. How could you know me?" And he goes, "You're Ken Okazaki." I'm just like, "Close enough. How do you know me?" He goes, "Dude."
Yeah.
And he's just like, I was inside of your group where you train about video. And I was like, "That's awesome. Thank you." And he took a selfie with me. And I felt like a celebrity for like 5 minutes, just like people stopping me on the street wanting a selfie. But video really is powerful. You just put out good content and people feel like they know you before they've ever met you.
Dude, it's insane.
And I know you've had that happen 100 times, right?
Heaps, bro. And it's like the first few times it's really weird. It's like, I remember the first time it happened, I almost had stage fright when it did. I was just walking through the middle of Melbourne. And I was just, doing my thing. And yeah, like a dude in the middle of the street, in the middle of Melbourne. So Melbourne's like Australia's second biggest city. And in the middle of Melbourne, some bloke like pulls me out and says, "You're James Cant." I'm like, "That's correct. I am." And it was just the weirdest, most awkward thing. But then like after, however many times of that happening at various things, various like bodybuilding shows back when I was big in bodybuilding and all that. But like getting into planes, like I've had it like getting onto a plane in Bali overseas, like all that sort of stuff throughout America. It's like, yeah, it's weird, but super cool at the same time. It shows how powerful it is. Not so fun because I've been really, I don't know how much I can swear, but I've been really fucked up on a few nights because I used to party a bit. And a few times I was really inebriated on whatever. And yeah, someone met me and recognized me. I thought, oh, that's not so good.
Yeah, I've had those moments too. So dude, what we want to do is, and I want to revisit some of those moments. Well, okay, before we get into like the main meat and potatoes of this, when I was visiting a friend who is a full-time Twitch streamer, and she has done like, 48-hour, Twichathons, they call it. Or streamathons, right?
She's streaming for 48 hours.
Yeah. And people get to watch her in her sleep and stuff. It's kind of, she just carries her phone with her, and then she switches to her computer and that's just, she makes an okay living, and I was like, "Hey, I'm in San Diego. I just saw you're in San Diego. Do you want to, you want to meet?" Because she was there for TwitchCon. I was there for another event. She's like, "Sure. Me and my friends are going to hang out. You don't mind showing up like on other people's feeds to you?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm used to it." I show up there and there's like, it's like a celebrity crowd of people who I've never heard of, but they got their little phones and their streaming devices, a crowd of fans around them. We go into a restaurant and like take up like 80% of the restaurant. I'm just like, this is another world I was not aware of. Everywhere they walk, just like, "Oh my God, it's you." And, they've got their Twitch streams, they got their YouTube channels, their Instagrams, their YouTube, and OnlyFans. So, like, they have fans coming out.
Did you get a few hits on the OnlyFans? Anyone request any sexy photos of Ken?
No, that'll probably be my retirement days when I'm no good for anything else. Maybe a female version of me. So, like video is crazy. Like there are so many layers. Even though I consider myself an expert in a lot of areas, I just realized there's so much I don't know, but it's exploding in every area. It's nuts.
People just want connection, right? It's like video is the ultimate way to actually have a connection with someone else or feel like you know them. I mean, like, you remember back, go back 10 years ago, everyone was into copy and like doing like even longer for however many hundreds of years, people are using copy in like the written form. But people don't buy products; they buy people. I mean, like go and look at like Logan Paul, for example. He and that KSI fella, they've got they own I think it's a minority stake in an energy drink company. And apparently the energy drink's pretty good. But the reason why that company is pumping so hard is because all of their followers, all the people who like them, go and buy their drinks. And they've done millions and millions and millions in sales. Not because maybe it's a good energy drink, maybe it's not, I don't know. But it's just because they're buying the person behind it, all of whom they know through video. It's incredible.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's been going on forever with sports celebrity endorsements. Like these guys probably do not drink Coke. Otherwise they wouldn't perform as well as they do. But you got the Coke money because they're on video. Dude, tell me, again, for the audience, what is it you do? And then we're going to rewind to before you started and kind of draw that path from, absolute noob, making all the mistakes to, I think, you would be what most people would consider a successful online entrepreneur.
Yeah, if you screw up enough, eventually you get successful, right? I've just made many, many millions of mistakes. But what I do is I do what's called performance coaching. So I help predominantly men who are doing really, really well in business, in making money, and they're successful. But there's this whole other area of their life, in their relationships, in their way that they connect with their kids, with their health, with the way that they feel, which just isn't doing terribly well. Like, those dudes who they're crushing it. Like they're doing quite well, but they wake up tired in the morning. They can't remember the last time they maintained a proper erection. It's like they don't have a sex drive. They don't feel like a man they would be proud of. Like when they look in the mirror, they're not happy. They don't like what their life is. It's like, cool. So that empty feeling? I remember when I had it when I made a substantial amount of money, and I had this empty feeling of like, fuck, is this it? And that's who I help. And what we do is we dust them off. We help them fix all the relationship stuff, make it so they can reconnect with their wife, their partner, their kids, and get their mojo back so that you can actually go out and be you again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
You've probably seen one or two of those guys before, right?
I think I've been that guy for some time. There's phases, right? And I think I've been there pretty close. So that's what you do now. And if someone were to work with you, I'm going to assume that's a pretty hefty investment. But what are we doing right now as far as like in your business? Are we like 7 figures, mid 7 figures, 8 figures? And off the back of that coaching business?
Yeah, like we're looking at mid 7 figures. That's where we're at. So will we go to 8 figures? I don't know, man. The thing with my business, right, is I made a substantial amount of money outside of business, right? So I happen to have 3 investments in a row, which went bang, 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 and like many 100x'd. And so I was just totally lucky. So with this business, I don't need to just go and push it for loads and loads of money. I get to have fun. I get to play around with it because I got this, very nice little nest egg behind me, which has pretty much made it so I never need to work again. But like with this business, will we get it to 8 figures? Maybe. It depends what our team wants and what they want to do. And also, can we actually scale it up well? You've probably seen like heaps of businesses around where they start off with this really great product, and maybe they're a really good $1 million business, or maybe a really good 500K business. And then as they start growing, they just start focusing on marketing and sales, and that's it. And their product delivery goes to shit. And this just starts getting worse and worse and worse. And eventually you've got this massive, massive company that nobody really likes their products. It's like, here we have Telstra, right? Which is like our main telephone service provider. And they're just pricks. They're actually getting better now, but for a long time, they were just terrible to deal with, just really, really awful. Yeah, cool. They're a massive company, but they're not fun to be with. I don't want to be Telstra. I want to be someone who, when you come and you do my programs, you actually get results. And you've seen it. You're in the coaching business. Everyone here has probably had coaching of some sort. Everyone who watches these things. We all know those businesses that got way too big for their boots. and it just started going downhill. I don't want my name on that. Fuck that. I'd rather be a little bit smaller, maybe make a little bit less money because I don't really care, and just have an incredible product. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And there's that old saying, you can smell desperation, right? If you need to make this sale to close this client in order to pay your bills, then it's going to be so much harder to close simply because you need it so bad. In your case, you don't need it. You've got those investments, and when people say, "I don't need your money," and you could tell they actually mean it, it makes me, and I think most of your customers just want it more because you can tell that's genuine, right?
Totally. You see so many coaching businesses, man. Oh, rough. Sorry, go on.
Buy my stuff so I can pay my bills. Yeah, it's a different air, different energy about them. So you started in fitness and you gained quite a following on social media. Let's go back to how that started and when you realized that you could turn that into a real business.
Yeah, it's funny. That's a funny story. So I was actually originally, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, right? And so what a mistake that was. But so I went through uni, so did my first degree. I wasn't smart enough to get into medicine right off the get-go. But I did my first degree and I was looking to go into, I did like a pre-med, I guess you'd call it, medical science over here. And I was looking to go in and sit medicine. So I did all the exams to get into medicine, all that sort of stuff. And so like I was moving forward, so I was going to get into that. And then I still remember at uni, like I was doing a little bit of coaching. So while I was at uni, I was studying, I turned professional in bodybuilding. So I competed in the same one that it's your brother who's an IFBB pro as well, right? Jacked. Yeah, jacked as fuck. So like I was competing in IFBB, which is like the biggest federation in bodybuilding in the world. It's the best one. It's where like Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, all those like huge dudes. You've probably seen the black guy going lightweight, baby, right? All those videos of him doing that. That's where he competed in that one. So I was in like in the smaller guys division because I'm just a little dude. I'm only like 90, 100 kilos, like 220 pounds type thing. And so like I was competing in the little guys division. And so I won that and I was competing it as a pro and going all around the world. And because I was quite good at bodybuilding, naturally I got a lot of clients. So I remember being at uni thinking, fuck, I'm rich. I've just made $2,000 this week, right? That was right at the very start of online fitness coaching. I thought I was balling, like absolutely balling because I made $2,000. And it was interesting because I was coaching one of my clients and his mother was anorexic when he was in the womb. And this has a whole heap of really gnarly effects on the kid where the body pretty much goes through like I guess the best way to call it would be like a starvation response because it is starving, but in the kid. So they have all these issues with hormones. They have a higher susceptibility to obesity, higher susceptibility to anxiety, depression, all these things. It's just a really, really tough time. So I was looking after this bloke and he's a really, really nice guy. He's an awesome kid. And he was like 25 at the time. He hadn't really hit puberty. His voice hadn't really quite dropped. He was super anxious. He was really, really overweight, couldn't lose weight no matter what he tried. In fact, believe me, he tried. And I still remember going into, I took him in to go see an endocrinologist because I got him to do his bloods. And yeah, sure enough, his testosterone was super low and his levels were all fucked up. And I took him in to go see an endocrinologist. And I went in there with him to make sure that he'd actually go. And so he'd do this and we'd get this investigated. And she felt threatened when I came in with him. I was like, I want to be here and I want to support him through it. Kind of be like an advocate type thing. Mind you, I wasn't even getting paid to go in as well. Like, it's not like he was paying me. I was doing this off my own bat to try and help this dude out because he's a nice guy. And so I've come in with him and she's like really defensive and agitated off the get-go and really like trying to like, assert dominance. I'm like, I'm not here for that. What are you doing? But she didn't like me being there. And then as a way of kind of getting at him, she says, I think you've got a pituitary tumor. So you've got a dude who's obese, anxious, low testosterone. He's had a really fucking tough life the whole way going up. And you walk into his office and then the first thing you do is you say, I think you've got cancer in your brain. It's like, how do you think that's going to go down? So then I'm off looking after this dude for the next however long, trying to console him, trying to make sure that it's cool. Like, it's all good. I'm like, she hasn't done scans. It's okay. We can do the scans and we can look at it after that. Sure enough, we did the scans. There's no fucking tumor there. There was never going to be a tumor there. And it all turned out that I was right the whole way through. Why on earth should a third-year pre-med student know more than an endocrinologist? Why was I able to get that right off the bat, know exactly what was happening? And she was meant to be one of the best endocrinologists going around in Sydney. It cost the dude like $600 to go and see her for a 15-minute conversation. And this is the best of the best. And the best of the best is crap, is worse than a third year pre-med student. That's not right. And so it was at that moment, I was just like, fuck it. I'm not doing that. Why the hell would I ever want to be this awful, horrible human being? And so that was pretty much when I dropped out. But at the same time, I've already got this coaching business, which is making $2,000 a week. And I thought, sweet, I'm rich. I'm going to go buy sashimi. Like, that's how rich I am. And
Wait, how old were you making $2,000 a week?
How old was I? I would have been 21.
Okay, no, that's not bad. That's what, $8,000 a month?
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's very good actually.
Yeah, totally. And it was big. And so like I was making all this money and it was good. And so I decided like, fuck it. I don't want to end up like that crazy bitch. And at the same time, I'm making all this money. I'm making now more money than what I make as a doctor for the first, however many years, because doctors, it takes a while for them to be able to make that $8,000 a month, that $100,000 a year, what it ends up to be. It's roughly $100,000 a year. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go do this. And so then the next year I got the business up to like $250,000, and then I burned it all to the ground, as every good entrepreneur does. So like it was really, really cool. And then I ended up just burning out. I didn't systemize my business well. I didn't put in processes, procedures. I refused to hire. I made every single mistake in the book, and I went from making about $250,000 a year down to $50,000 a year. And fuck, that hurt. that was a really rough phase.
So what you said you didn't put systems in place. So was it personal burnout and then the system's going to take over, or did you just make bad investments, or what was like, what caused that?
Yeah. This is a really interesting one. So this is the whole reason I do what I do now. So I've burnt out multiple times throughout my career. So when I burnt out, I was competing as a pro. So it was like I was traveling around the world competing in bodybuilding. I was also, finishing off after my degree, I did multiple other qualifications as well. I did a heap of it because I thought, if you get more certificates, more people are going to want to work with you. Stupid. Don't do it. It's the fucking trap. Never do that stuff. It's dumb. Diplomas and degrees hardly mean anything. They're a waste of time. And then the next thing that I was doing was trying to run the business. But I was trying to look after several hundred clients all by myself with no CRM, no automation, nothing, all done by hand, just me working. And I remember I had this really fucked up thought, which was I have to write every single program for my clients because they're paying for me to write it. And I got totally messed up with the idea that clients just want a result. They don't care who gets them result, just get them the fucking result. But I thought with maybe it's ego, I don't know what it is, some misguided thought of integrity was I have to do everything. And so there I am, I'm working like, I'm training 6 to 8 hours a day. I'm trying to work like 10 hours a day plus. And then I'm trying to sleep as little as possible. So I was trying to sleep like 4 hours a night, 3 hours a night type thing. And I just burnt out. I was eating modafinil like anything else, which modafinil is like a stimulant. They use it for a lot of guys like in the Air Force if they have to do long things. It's pretty much like an amphetamine.
Is it just like caffeine on steroids?
Yeah, it's like caffeine cross meth, like in between. So it's like it's hectic stuff. A lot of people use it, and I think they take it way too lightly. It's nasty. But like I was using a lot of that sort of stuff, and I was just buggered, and my body just shut itself. I started getting IBS, so literally it shut itself. I was going through days where I couldn't go to the toilet, days where I couldn't stop going to the toilet. Awful. Total brain fog, can't think about anything. I'm not clear. My sex drive was gone. My testosterone was gone. I felt old. I was sore every morning. I'm like 22 and a professional bodybuilder, and I'm sore every day, aching in my joints, feeling puffy. It was just crap, man. It just really, really sucked. My bodybuilding career pretty much died then. I went from being one of the best in the world in my division to like a nobody. My business went from $250,000 down to $50,000. It was just a really, really crappy time. And if I did a few things better, I would have been, look, I am now I'm thankful for it. But I look at the same time as if I just managed my business better, if I just sorted out my systems and like marketed appropriately and had my marketing, sales and delivery systems, that business would have absolutely crushed it. I still would have been competing, all throughout the world, probably got to number one in the world, and life would have been groovy. But hey, that's my path. And I guess I didn't follow that. And now arguably I have an even cooler path.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you went through that I'm going to say 100% is the reason a lot of people will trust you with their hard-earned money to help them get the kind of success that they want, because they hear your story. They're just like, well, at least I wasn't that bad. And if he could rebound from that to where he is, then I can probably do, some fraction of that. And That's something about origin stories that is super powerful in video or any kind of content. And people have to know that you understand them or had some degree of connection to what they're feeling. And that's the money right there. Look, when was the time when you first started seeing the internet, online video as a major arsenal in your marketing, or just overall something you use daily in your business?
Mine was totally accidental. So I was dating a chick, really, really lovely girl. And this is when I was doing bodybuilding. She says, "You got to get on Instagram." I was like, "What's Instagram?" She's like, "Oh, it's a thing where you put photos up of yourself." This is when Instagram was quite new. And I was like, nah, that's not me. I'm not going to do that. There was something that's like, "Oh, no, that's gay. I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. There's only, you don't do that as a dude, you know?" And so I had all these weird fucked up reservations of it, but she persisted. She's like, "No, do it. You'll be really, really good." So I ended up doing it and going on. And that was where I started getting a whole heap of people like hitting me up on Instagram, like, yeah, hitting me up in ways I didn't want them to be hitting me up, but also in ways where I did want them to, where they're looking for business and whatnot. And so, what I did is I just said, "Oh, well, this is fun. Like, I actually like posting." So I started putting out a heap of educational content. So stuff that I'd study, stuff that I'd learn about, stuff that I experienced from bodybuilding. I just share it. And it was all fitness specific. And it ended up going really, really well. And then Facebook Live came out. So I remember when they first released that feature, that was huge because I would go live every single night and I'd just give value and just make content because I like talking about it. I like what I do. I enjoy it. And yeah, I enjoy talking, just like I enjoy talking with you now. Like I enjoy talking about this stuff. And so I was just going live every night. And it was crazy, man, because my bank account just went up, 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 up. So I remember there was times where, I was getting like several hundred up to 1,000 people on a live stream, which is crazy, absolutely crazy right back in the beginning when they first put it out. And it was huge. I remember at the time, that was when I first started doing Facebook ads. And I remember my first 10K week. That would have been, I would have been 23, I think about 23 it would have been then. 22, 23. Yeah, it would have been when I had hit my first 10K week. And that was all off the back of just doing a few little Facebook ads, shitty Facebook ads. Like I look back in my ad library now, I'm like, that's disgusting. How did that ever make money? Little Facebook ads saying, "Hi, I have a 12-week program, $44 a week, which does this. Like totally like brand aware type ads, just marketed out to a cold audience. But like doing that, and that worked well. And we got sales off that somehow. And Facebook Lives, like bulk Facebook Lives, every single night, 15 minutes to 30 minutes. What's crazy is that people would literally just go on there and just chat with me. Like they'd just be they'd just watching and just like chat. And I'd go and form a heap of cool connections. A lot of these guys who are really cool cats who ended up meeting up. Some of them work for us now and have joined us. And it's really cool. Facebook Live, I'm still a massive fan of Facebook Live. I think that's the shit. It's the best thing ever.
There's something that you said there that stood out to me is that when it was new, that's when you got in. And I'm seeing this across platforms. Like I'm trying to help some of my clients get onto podcasts. And I think that if they did this 10 years ago, they would have gone gangbusters now. And even me, I just started this podcast. It's pick and shovel, like every 10 subscribers is something I notice, Whereas if, this podcast was started 10 years ago, it would have been different. Same with Facebook Live. Now we're seeing TikTok. A lot of people are finally dragging their butts over to TikTok, but the early adopters have already gotten market share, right? So it's, I think in stocks and investments, it's smart to take a wait and see approach because you could lose your money, right? If you put everything in. But with new platforms, the only thing you could lose is the amount of time you put in, which I guess there's value to that, but you could be multi-streaming and things like that. People who get in early always win, and they get disproportionate return on their investment of time than people who kind of, we're at the end of the bell curve of the growth of some of these. And what you just described there is getting in early has a huge advantage. You made crappy ads, like you said yourself, but they still converted because you were doing it when much fewer people were running ads. So it just stood out more.
Totally. I think there's one caveat in that though, is that you have to do it well. So you look on TikTok. TikTok's such a cool example. My wife, she made my TikTok account pretty much. I think I've got like, I don't know, 50,000 followers or something on there. And she does that. I'm not a real big TikTok guy, but I think that if you're on TikTok and you're dancing around and all that sort of stuff and you're trying to sell business coaching, you're going to look like a fucking idiot. So like that side of things, you can be an early adopter and you're going to look like you're stupid. Whereas if you do it well and you stay on brand and you don't sell your soul for likes and do all these things and this sort of stuff, you're probably going to do pretty cool. But when you start going down the cringe factor, and like a lot of people have, I've seen a lot of people drop their pants for a few likes and a few followers, you know what I mean? And it's like, if you can stay away from that and yes, go on to and keep your brand and be an early adopter. Yeah, 100%. I agree. You'll win. I think you'll definitely win. And as you said, multi-streaming, totally.
And one thing about TikTok that a lot of business coaches that I work with, the hesitation you have is just like you said, you don't want to go off brand. You don't want to do, lip syncing and, whatever twerking, routine that's trending right now. But if you get somebody who understands your brand well and does the editing really well, then instead of you doing the song and dance, the editing does the song and dance for you with these really, really rapid cuts, titles that are actually funny and entertaining. Like the way I instruct my editors to edit my client stuff is it's like stand-up comedy. Whatever you say, we're going to play off of that with the emojis and the GIFs and stuff. So it's almost like the titles and you are having this back and forth banter. And those are the videos that really hit, are the people who understand the humor and can kind of twist your words even to make it an even more interesting version of what you said. And we've got, 10 to 30 seconds, to do that. So that's, I think, the magic in it. People, you can't just take a long coaching call you had and slice it up and upload it and hope it's going to do amazing, because it just doesn't. You have to think at the next level. And so there are ways. One thing I found about TikTok though is because I do take these podcasts and repurpose them and put them on TikTok. They do much, much worse than when I'm looking, straight at the camera and I have 10 to 15 seconds of just giving a quick tip that someone could use right away. Those do much, much better. And it's just shot on my phone. I do it on my phone on purpose because I want it to feel like a phone, because it is. Whereas this looks more like a kind of like a semi-TV produced type of quality. So that's the difference that people are saying.
Well, I think it's like the same thing as when you're going and dating, right? When you go and date someone, or you want to get someone married, you don't just walk up to a girl in the bar and say, "Hi, you want to get married and have sex?" It's like you don't do that. That's like a podcast. That's a long, big commitment. People have to commit 30 minutes, an hour of their time to get anything out of the podcast. If you just keep going in and you're just like, "Hi, you want to get married? Hi, you want to get married?" No, every now and then you'll get someone who'll say yes. But it's very, very rare. And then chances are they're probably not the type of people you want to say yes, right? Whereas if you go through and you have something flashy and you have something short and easy and quick, want to grab coffee, want to hang out, just chat for a little bit, that is going to be way, way sexier for people to watch. So instead of going in and putting down your bottom of funnel content right up the top, just keep it top of funnel content and have top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel, and use a traditional marketing funnel. Because funnily enough, traditional marketing will always work. You've just got to change the way that it looks.
Yeah, 100%. I want to get back to your story a little bit. And also, I want to respect your time. Do you have a hard cutoff time?
No, I'm groovy. We got a kid who's asleep, so it's fine. Got ages.
Now, I know that you went from being a bodybuilder / health, your doctor, of course, and helping your clients. And you had some membership courses. Do you remember when you made your first million? Was that like a big monumental thing, or was it like, I just blew past $1 million, no big deal?
I've never thought about it, actually. I don't even know when I made my first million. It's a good point. I remember.
So you just blew past it?
Yeah. I don't remember that, actually. That's funny. I've never thought of that.
Just a little chalk line on the highway, and you just, that happened years ago. I just noticed.
It's weird. Like, I'm not going to say I don't care about money because that's a lie. Anyone who says they don't care about money they're full of shit. But it didn't mean that much to me. I cared about there being money in my bank account. Because there've been times where I've been making multiple millions and going backwards, and losing money. And like, there's been times where I've been making a shitload of money and I've been miserable. There's been times like at uni when I was dirt poor, I had nothing. This is before I was making money. I was just like a poor uni student working for $17 an hour, which isn't a whole lot. What's that? It's like 12 US. And I was really happy. So money isn't a thing which I've always put as being the most important thing. But I certainly remember my first 10K week. That was huge. Can't remember my first 20K week, 50. I can remember when I was doing 100K weeks. I first did them contract value hundreds. I did them 3 years ago now. So I remember doing that, thinking, wow, that's a lot of money that I've sold. But yeah, other than that, no, I can't really remember it. It's not a big thing. Biggest thing for us has been capacity of clients. Are we near capacity? Are we like at sitting at, for us in a coaching business, you want to have your clients, in my opinion, anywhere from like 87 up to about 95%. Like if you have room for 300 clients, you want to be at anywhere between, 87 up to 95%, somewhere in there. 95% is redlining it a bit. That's the one that I look at now heavily. And whenever I see that we're in the Goldilocks zone in that green thing, that's a big milestone for us. Big.
All right. Got it. I was talking with some other people, and it's like split 50-50. People who blew past and didn't even realize they hit that 7-figure mark, and people for whom it was a huge goal. And that was like, they were trying to hit that for a few years. They hit it. Then that's the 8-figure mark and so on and so forth. It looks like you've taken the numbers as a backseat to supporting your lifestyle rather than the numbers being the goal. Would that be correct?
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, I think everybody in business we call it a summit, right? Everyone needs to do a summit. It's like, what are you actually doing this for? Because what ends up happening, particularly in men, is we get so driven and focused towards this goal of making 10 million, 50 million, 100 million, or whatever it ends up being, and or a billion for that matter. And we lose sight of everything else. And we end up in this spot. And I've seen a whole heap of people do it, people close to me as well, people I'm related to, whereas they end up making hundreds of millions of dollars and they're loaded, but they're divorced. The kids don't speak to them. They're fat. They've got cancer, all this sort of stuff. It's like, well, was it worth it, bro? Really? And the answer literally every single time is no, it's not. And so what I do is we have this thing called a summit. And any of you guys, if you want access to the summit, we've got a free training on how you can actually do this properly, so that when you do make a lot of money, you don't make a lot of money at the expense of your family, of your health, or of the things that you actually matter, right? Things you actually care about. But for me, the most important things to me are, number one, maintaining an incredible relationship with my wife, making sure that I'm able to be like the ultimate dad for my little girl. So my dad worked his ass off. I don't really remember a whole lot with him. I got a great relationship with him now, but when I was growing up, I didn't have a close relationship with him. And I don't want that. I want to see my kids grow up. I went to boarding school. I don't want to send my kids to boarding school. I want to see them through their teenage years. I want to have all those annoying little fights that you have with kids when they're teenagers, right? I want to be there for that. And that was really important for me. I want to live in an amazing spot. I live in Noosa, in the Sunshine Coast of Queensland, Australia. And it's one of the most beautiful areas in the whole entire world. And look, it's expensive. It's very expensive. It's one of the most expensive places going around. So I want to have enough money to live there. But I'm not going and chasing. I don't want to live in fucking Sydney or a Tokyo or a big city where everyone's stressed and all that sort of stuff. Fuck that. It's like, my business is here to support what I want in my life and the things that actually matter. And then also at the same time, I want to know that my product has actually enhanced people's lives, instead of being some shitty, mediocre thing that's overpriced that people pay for. You know what I mean?
Got it. I love that. I think a lot of people are struggling a long time in business to get to what you've already achieved. So guys, there will be a link below. James dropped me the link afterwards. I'll put it into the show notes. Do check this guy out. Now, when it comes to content creation, you've probably seen some of these scammy, sleazy kind of videos, and you're just like, this guy is not what he's saying he is. Or you've seen people like doing stuff that, it's just a mistake. They might have pure intentions, but they're shitting all over the bed, right? Could you give me some examples of stuff you've seen or that you are seeing? You don't have to name names, but like, what are people doing wrong in content creation, in your opinion?
Yeah. First thing is inauthenticity, right? That's the very, very first thing. And I see that a lot of people who are inauthentic, they can build viewers, but not followers. There's a very, very big difference. When somebody is fake on camera, you can tell when someone's fake. I mean, yes, not everybody's very clued on, but 99% of people are going to know when they're being fake. They'll watch your stuff, but they won't like you. As soon as you're ready to fall, they'll be there waiting with spikes to prod you, right? And they'll be trying to trip you up. So that's the first thing. It's like, be authentic. You'll make way more money doing that. I don't have the biggest following out there because I don't post high dopamine content. I pride myself on being the boring guy, right? We do lots of boring. My business is boring. My business is simple. It's the same. My marketing is boring. It's the same all the time. It's consistent. hint, pro tip, so much fucking easier being that way. Life is so much nicer being boring. And yeah, all my stuff is just super boring and super authentic. And that's how it will always, always be, because it just works better.
Do you think some of that influence comes from bodybuilding? Like, because you've done a bit of that. Like, I don't see bodybuilders, at least not my brother, trying to do like gymnastics. They just do the same boring curls, the same boring deadlifts, the same boring squats, the same boring, like it's boring and it's repetitive. And do you think that there's a correlation between the way you run your business and the way you took fitness?
Yeah. So I'll answer that with a couple of questions, a bit of a roundabout way. You've probably seen in your time, Ken, a lot of guys who want to hit $10 million in my first year of business, want to hit $100 million. And they have all these massive dreams and they're trying everything. Oh, I'm going to do sell by chat. Now I'm going to do a book a call funnel. Now I'm going to do TikTok. Now I'm going to do fucking Rumble or something like that. And they're constantly jumping onto the next exciting thing. You know what I'm talking about? And they have all these ideas and all these things they're going to talk about. Oh, I'm going to try this personality now. I'm going to try this personality. I'm going to try this hack, all this sort of stuff. And what do they end up? They end up broke and fucking exhausted. That's what happens every single time. And when you come from a fitness background, when it comes to sales and business, fitness guys and military guys crush it every single time. If you want to have a really good sales rep, make sure he's got a fitness background. All right. You interviewed Sales Sniper guys. I work with them closely, so I always use them as an example. All of those guys are jacked, have had like a professional sporting history or a history in professional sport or a military. It's like every single time for all of their, not all, I won't say all, but most of their top players, right, have that. Why? Because in fitness, in doing bodybuilding like I did, it's like you do the same shit every single day, getting 1% closer to your goal over and over and over again. That's what breeds success. Not doing all this flashy, shiny stuff to try and be cool and try and make people like you, right? If you can play the boring game in business, I can guarantee that you'll be way, way more successful. The other thing too is there's something nice about, something attractive about a man who's stable. Have you ever noticed, I noticed for us actually, since I'm now a dad, I got my beautiful little girl, Layla. She's, at the time of filming this, nearly 16 weeks. And upon, like, for the last 16 weeks of having been a dad, a lot of guys have found me so much more relatable, so much more trustworthy, so much more stable, because there's something very attractive about a man who is stable, because all of us in some way, shape or form crave certainty and crave stability. And if you can convey that, if you can first of all be that in your life and then convey that in your life, that is incredibly powerful, because people are attracted to certainty. I mean, like, let's go and let's look at politicians. Why do people vote for certain politicians? Because they've come from pretty much all the a lot of major political parties throughout COVID, where there's a time of intense uncertainty. They've all changed. Now, let's be honest, left wing or right wing, they're pretty much the fucking same. Like, let's be honest, they really do the same shit. I know that's controversial. I'm not going to go political, but it's all pretty much the same crap. All right. They're all thieves, cheats, and liars. But anyway, I won't go down that way. But that's the same shit. And people just change it because one party has promised them certainty and stability when another party has not been able to do that. And if you look at it, it's just natural, it's human nature. If you can be that certainty and that stability, people will come for you. They'll pay you money. Hell, they might even elect you to run the country.
Yeah, seen that over and over and over. And, going back to that point about having kids, being a dad, growing up, I was definitely not the popular kid. I was,
High five.
Yeah, there we go. High five. All my peers were like, at least a head taller than me. And I had so much trouble, just getting anyone's attention, a girl's attention for that matter. And I remember when I had two kids, they're both like toddlers, and I'd take them out to the park. I got every girl's attention. They're just like, here's a responsible dude. I still look the same probably, but the context is different. And my attitude about everything changed. And then, thank God I was married. Otherwise it would have been a very awkward situation with kids. But I, for the first time, was like, now I know what it means to be the center of attention of all the ladies in the room. Because, they see you differently. And I guess, how does this relate to content creation? It's that certainty, right? It's the stability that you get. Yeah, absolutely.
And authenticity, 100%.
Wow. I never thought of it that way. Coming back to authenticity, I find that when I share my most vulnerable moments, the times where like we shit the bed with our agency not long ago, and I shared about it publicly. Then I got 15 inbound leads saying, can we work with you? I was just like, well, really? I was just trying to make a confession here, right? And that's the kind of thing that people love. I think everybody knows deep down inside that everybody's shit in the bed somewhere in their business, but most people just try to, rub it around lightly so that it's less noticeable. Whereas if you just clean it up and get it out publicly, then people respect that because, there's no perfect business, is there?
Totally. I wouldn't go and say I'm in the middle of having a mental breakdown and then expect people to trust you with managing their finances.
That's a different story.
Totally different. It's like
No.
there's a level of authenticity.
Why you are shitting the bed is not when you want to talk about it. We're crashing and burning.
Yeah. Just play it cool then.
Play it cool.
Yeah, totally.
And it's
I was talking with a mentor of mine.
it's what we call the debrief,
Yeah, totally. I was talking with a mentor of mine, by the name of Charlie Valley. You probably know Charlie. Everyone knows Charlie. Great guy. We're talking about the whole vulnerability phase that people went through however long ago, where they were sharing their deepest, darkest secrets on social media. First of all, everyone knows you're doing it for attention or something like that, right? Inauthentic in actually this thing where you're trying to be authentic, you're actually being inauthentic. But second of all, if you're sharing these deep, dark things, like people don't want to work with guys who are unstable. They go back to the certainty thing. Just like if don't go and do this whole vulnerability crap. Warning, this is an extremely vulnerable post. I saw that post up the other day. It's fucking crap, right? It's like everyone knows it. Everyone knows that it's crap. It's like, just be you. Post up a photo with you and your kids at the park. Post up a video or do a video about something that you're trialing right now. I've seen some of the stuff that you've been doing at the moment, Ken. Like it's cool. Like it's cool content. It's engaging. You want to watch it. It's like, show what you're doing and document your life in a way which is real and which is you. I guess like with that, this is going a little bit woo-woo now, but when you're doing this, you have to be super comfortable with yourself and where you're at. Maybe you don't have $100 million business. Cool. Be sweet with that. Like, that's cool. Maybe you aren't shredded and jacked. You're trying. You're going to the gym. Cool. Like, that's amazing. Maybe you do fuck up in certain areas. Cool. Like, you don't need to highlight that. You can just focus on the things that are good. You don't need to go and air your dirty laundry to be authentic. All you need to do is document parts of your life that you think that your audience will relate to and things that they want to take away from you. You don't have to be perfect because newsflash, it's impossible. You're never going to be perfect. We all fuck things up, right? We all do. So you don't have to be perfect in every single area. You've just got to be one step ahead of your audience in the area that they want to be good at.
100%. And dude, James, I got to say, like when I did watch a few of your videos, actually I watched probably a lot of them. And yeah, you don't filter anything, like you don't even wear a shirt most of the time. They don't even filter your skin.
I put it on just for you, Ken. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. But no, I gotta say that the way, Andrew Tate, right? Like he blew up the internet, then he got shut down, right? And he took it to a whole another level. But I think there's that there's something inside of every man out there who feels like, like what they really feel inside is wrong because somehow society made them feel it's wrong. And you're able, and Andrew Tate too, with different tactics, you're able to help people, men especially, to feel like, hey, it's okay to feel like this. And here's how to lean into it and turn it into a positive, right? There's that feeling that people want. And you're able to do that because you're not posturing. You're not quoting the Dalai Lama like other people we know sometimes do and put their name on it. And that, if I think that's the biggest secret. If you can tap into the secret desire everybody has, but is embarrassed to share, but make them feel okay about it, and then have them lean into it and actually create success through it, that I think that's really the formula. That's all there is to it. Then they'll buy whatever you offer them because you come from authenticity. So why would you offer them something that's not genuinely going to help them?
Totally. First of all, by the way, I got to go back and highlight that you just compared me to Andrew Tate. I'm like, dude, thank you. That's a big compliment. Probably the world's best marketer at the moment, Andrew Tate, whether you love him or hate him. But I totally agree. I mean, what's the number one law of what number one rule in marketing is you need to be able to describe your prospects' problems in more detail than what they can do. And if you do that, they'll immediately think that you're an expert in solving that problem. If you can do that extremely well, talk to their deepest, darkest desires, fears, problems, you'll immediately become an expert straight away. And I think you're right. Andrew Tate does an extremely good job of that. Extremely good job. And that's why he's crushing it. And even now that he's canceled, he's still crushing. He's probably making more money than ever. It's incredible.
Yeah. He was just on the Piers Morgan show. Like I didn't pay much attention to him, but then these two guys are both pretty good debaters. So I watched it. It was just the day before yesterday. And I just grew to respect him a lot more, because even the stuff that sounded really horrible on the front, he refused to back down on any of it. Not that I agree with him, but it's like, okay, here's somebody who actually, is not going to backpedal just because it's an unpopular opinion. Like, and that's something to respect. I think I've done that too many times, or just was quiet about the stuff that I know is controversial. Just like, you know what, if he's got that much balls, then maybe the rest of what he's saying is worth listening to. I want to pivot a bit over into people who are starting out, right? Let's say it's a coaching business or a medical business. I don't know, whatever it is, but they haven't jumped into this online content realm yet because they're scared. Maybe they saw their friends crash and burn. Do you have tips for helping people just get over that initial fear, the imposter syndrome?
Yeah, totally. I mean, very first thing, I think I stole this from you, actually. It might have been you or someone else back then. I think it was you. But it's like, imposters don't get imposter syndrome. And it's like that rung so true to me when I heard. I think it was you, Ken.
I probably borrowed it from someone else. Like I saw it somewhere, and
it's all right. You can take credit for it. It's all right. It's your podcast, mate. You own it. But yeah, so yeah, imposters don't get it. And I remember like hearing that was really impactful for me, because if you're getting imposter syndrome, you're not an imposter. So go be you. Second thing, it's like, just go out and be authentic. Just be you. You don't lie. You don't cheat. You don't be sleazy. Don't do any of that sort of stuff. You don't have to do that to be successful. Just go out and be you in your most authentic form. Because a lot of the time we think that we need to be somebody else. Oh, I'm not good enough for social media. No one would want to listen to me. All those like doubt demons that start creeping up in our head. It's like, just go be you, because funnily enough, you're the only one with your set of fingerprints on the whole planet, right? You're totally unique. You're totally different. And the better you can express yourself in an authentic manner, the more unique you're going to end up being. If we go and we look on social media at the moment, there's a lot of guys who started off being unique. And then as they grew, they started going in and falling into the crowd and trying to be like everybody else. And then what happens to their viewership, right? Their ratings and all that sort of stuff, it just goes down. Whereas when you come out and you just be totally yourself and totally authentic, you'll always be your most successful every single time. And the third thing is, this is the way to make an extraordinarily large amount of money while doing very little work. Go back 100 years ago, back into the 1800s, 1900s, right? And that sort of phase. People had to work all day, every single day in order to feed themselves and to feed their family. People used to starve to death. People used to live in mud flaps. Some people in some certain parts of the world still do. So what the fuck are you whinging about? Your life is not that hard. Your problems are not that bad. Shut the fuck up and jump on video. Simple.
Got it. And what do you see as, let's say somebody who's like, what's the fastest way? And I know you said before the slow, repetitive is what you're into, but let's say someone does want to start a business and they've got their webcam and they've got some content. But what have you seen working today as far as content creation and connecting that to cash in the bank? I've seen some people, they just run ads that go straight into a phone call. Some people do webinars. Some people give content for like a whole year before asking for anything. But you're on the inside.
Whole year before asking for anything?
Maybe I exaggerated there.
Jeez.
No, there are people. Like I brought on a client and that's his plan. We're going to do a year of content and then he's got this rollout plan. So, and he's got another business, of course, but he wants the brand to come first. It's not his main business.
Yeah, good. I was going to say, if that's a startup, I'm like, that's a quick way to go broke. But the very first thing is know your client, know their problems. A lot of guys come out and I saw a dude selling fitness programs for bald people the other day. And that was his target market. It's like, if you're bald, I'll get you jacked and shredded. It's like, bro, like I get you trying to niche down, but that's not a niche, man. Like you're not hitting any of their problems. Are you bald and out of shape? It's like, it's not going to be any better. Find a niche and actually know their biggest, deepest, darkest pains and desires. If you are targeting bald people and you're selling them finasteride or an amazing hair regrowth thing or whatever it is that you're going to do, yeah, cool, that'll work. But not like you bald and fat. I mean, it's just not going to really hit terribly well. You're never going to be.
Was he doing it like with humor, or was it for serious? Like, was he serious?
Full serious, man. Full serious. Good luck to him. I hope he does well, but I just don't think that he will do well. So that's the first thing.
If he gets The Rock to endorse him, then it might work out.
Yeah.
That's about the only way.
Maybe that'd be very expensive. But so like if we look at that, that's just not going to work well. So go and find a target market who you can actually help, who you have a competitive advantage on, where you have a good origin story for, where you can help them, right? When it comes to like the burnout in business stuff, no one's ever going to touch me. No one's ever going to come close to encroaching on our space because I've burnt out way harder than you. And the fun fact is that in order for you to understand my clients better than me, you'll have to go burn out harder than me. And I'm like, fucking good luck, because I nearly killed myself. So if you want to go harder than me, yeah, be my guest. Go and find something that makes you unique, something different, something special, and understand the messaging for those people. Second thing, be able to actually deliver on that. Fun fact, everyone thinks that online coaching is just about sales and marketing. It is for about 6 months, but if you can't deliver a product after that, you die like straight away, because people stop paying their bills, they cancel their subscriptions, you get a lot of negative reviews, and then the marketplace just goes and shits on you really, really quickly. You need to be able to deliver really, really well. And there's this whole thing at the moment with social media is that ads are getting more expensive. They're going to continue to get more expensive. If you do not have a good lifetime customer value, you are not going to have a fun time. Lifetime customer value is the average amount that a customer will pay you throughout the course of their time working with you, right? Throughout their lifetime, the average amount they'll pay you. If you have a low lifetime customer value because people don't like your product, because they don't bring referrals, because they don't renew, they don't continue going through your programs and through your product ladder, you're not going to have a good time. So deliver really, really freaking well, right? Then
So
after
in
that,
the
you
context,
can worry about it. Yeah, go on.
I just want to get one word in there. In the context of high and low customer lifetime value, in the context of your business and the people you work with, what would you consider high or low? Because I think a lot of people aren't familiar with that concept and might want to know what they're talking about.
Yeah, cool. So with our business, we have like a core set of programs that we run. We like the time period of 6 months when someone comes and works with us. So we work with us for about 6 months. Now with that, we have approximately, I think it's about 35 to 40% who then renew for an additional 6 months. We then have another 20 to 30% who then go and buy a separate program, right? And then there's another 10% out of that who will then downsell and go into a lower level program. Does that make sense? So with us, our program's really freaking good. So most people, when you start working with my team and I, you stay working with us, or you bring referrals in. There's a guy called Jimmy Pomponio who I coached a couple of years ago now. I finished coaching him about a year ago, who still sends us clients and still sends us referrals, because he's like, working with James is the best thing I've ever done in my life. Which is, first of all, it's really nice. It actually like makes me smile more than anything. That's so much better than cash. So much better than cash. But the fact that I did a really good job with him and I helped him out massively, he still sends us clients. So the lifetime customer value there is really, really quite high. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. Is there like a cash amount that you'd be okay to share? Like what would be considered low to you or high?
Oh, so for us, so first of all, this is going to vary per coaching company. I'll answer that a better way. The best thing will be percentages, because this means that you can apply it to a lot of business models, not all, but to a lot. What I would advise is that if you get at least 30% of your customers who come onto your front end offer, assuming it's a coaching offer similar to mine, there's a lot of assumptions here, I know, but assume it's a front end offer like us, where we get about 8 to 10 ROAS on our ads at the moment. ROAS is return on ad spend. And so we look for at least 1 in 3 to definitely continue on with that program. If you can do that, you're doing really quite well. That's what I recommend. But I will disclaim, from what we've known and from the research we've done, industry standard's about 4%. The next thing that you need to look at is, it's terrible. But that's because most people have shitty programs. Don't base your numbers off people who have shitty programs.
That's really good.
Yeah, totally. We want to be up around 75 though. That's where we'll get to. But so like we've got the next thing after that is completions. How many people actually start your program and actually finish it? A lot of people have very, very high dropout rates. It's not uncommon to see 40% of people don't even finish the freaking program. If you're seeing anything more than like 20%, even 15% not finishing your program, means your program sucks and you've got a lot of work to do. And so you need to make it better. Because what should happen is when people join your program, their life should be exponentially better. They should love working with you. They should end up making more money because they're successful, because their life's getting better. Therefore, they'll be able to pay their bills. You shouldn't be a drag or a drain on their life. You should be something that enhances their life. Does that make sense?
Yep. Makes sense. I love it. Well, thanks.
And every now and then you're going to get people who cancel because they're out of money. Like shit happens. They lost their job. COVID happened, something like that. Cool. Like that's not your fault. That's not theirs. Look after them. But like there's 10% there that'll happen, but the rest of them you should be completing.
Love it. Now, I want to wrap this up with two last questions. And the first one is, at what point do you think it makes sense to hire someone to take care of your videos or maybe your social media for you, as opposed to you producing everything yourself, editing and all that?
How much money does it make you? The only question that ever matters in any decision in business. It's like, will you make a return on investment off doing this? Simple. If you suck at video and you can't talk and you stutter every time you're in front of the camera, and not even in like a likable stutter way, like in a bad way, and you can't speak, probably not a good idea. But if you're confident on camera, you're good, you know your messaging, you know your niche, you know all that sort of stuff, and you know that by hiring somebody to help you out, such as Ken, who I'd highly recommend, by the way, then it's worthwhile. Like you just got to look at how much money can I make off the back end of this.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. I had a conversation the other day with someone, and they wanted to work with us, and they were everything was all green lights, and then they said, "Well, what's the ROAS of doing social media organic content?" And I closed that conversation. I just said, I think that if that's the question you have for me right now, when we do like PR, then you're too early. Let me refer you to somebody who's going to build you a funnel and run ads for you, and then come back to me once you've got your ROAS figured out, your return on ad spend. So a lot of people just misconstrue the concept of just making free organic content with like a calculable amount of cash flow, and it just doesn't work that way, and people haven't seen that. I have one final question for you is, if people want to find out more about how to get your material, maybe you've got a gift for someone or a group or some way to get in the realm of your trainings, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, if you just like this and you want to have a chat, just shoot me a message. It's just, my name's James Cant. It's like the C word, but with an A instead of the U, or can't, just without an apostrophe. Like you'll be able to find me. It's a pretty memorable name. And if there's something in here that you like to want to know about, just shoot me a message. But in terms of like what we do and who we help, I'm not going to pitch you anything. I don't need to. Thankfully, I have enough money where I'm not in that position. But if you have low energy, if you wake up tired in the morning, if you ever get anxious or stressed, you feel like you're just putting out fires all the time, the whole world is just sitting on your shoulders, or you just feel like your testosterone is not where it should be, you kind of lost your mojo, and you want some stuff that can help you out, I have so much stuff which can help you, okay? Just drop me a message and I'll be able to add you into our group. First of all, that's where we house all their information. It's called High Performance Men. And I'll just shoot you across a heap of free shit, which will help you out, because I pride myself on having incredible free shit. Or if you want to just work with us one-on-one, we can chat about that too. But I'd recommend getting to know us first and actually deciding whether you like us or not. And then we can talk from there. Cool?
That's perfect. All right, guys, check out the links below. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's in the description. If you're listening on the podcast, you'll find the links in the show notes. James, I appreciate you sharing a bit of your story, some advice, and a bit of a rant about what's not working in the industry too. That's been a lot of fun. I'm going to let you go. And guys, if you enjoyed this, then do go ahead and give it however many stars you feel it deserves.
5, at least.
And leave a comment about what you thought. There you go. And leave a comment for what else you want to hear on this podcast. That's it for now. I'll see you guys next time.